Welcome to Energy Media Interviews the Experts today. We're going to be talking to Allan Fogwill, who's the head of the Canadian Energy Research Institute. And the series just completed a study, actually a few months ago, but we're talking about it today, on the different types of power grid storage. So welcome to Energy Media Interviews, Allan.
Thank you very much.
Can you give us an overview of the study, please?
Sure. What we were trying to do was just to determine what the costs were for the different applications for electricity storage. There's a lot of discussion today about how storage can integrate into the electricity grid.
Sure.
And we wanted to look at what were the three main approaches that people are considering. The first is backup for intermittent power. As we bring on more intermittent power, and this is mostly wind and solar energy, onto our electricity grids, the variability of that generation source needs to be firmed up in order to provide the proper sourcing for the grid. So that was one. The second one is arbitrage. There's a lot of potential for arbitraging the price for brokers and marketers. And it's basically buy low, sell high. So when you're buying low, you have to store the power until the price increases to a point where you're going to make some profit. And then the third one is, of course, load management for significant loads. And we looked at large commercial loads in particular in the commercial sector. And in the same way as the arbitrage application would look at buying low and selling high, it would be buying low and using when it's high. So that's the sort of approach we were looking. Those are the three scenarios.
What were the top conclusions that you came to in the study?
Well, I think the top conclusions were that as an individual application, like if it was just used for one thing, that the cost effectiveness is just not there. So for example, with wind and solar, to firm them up on the electricity grid, it's actually cheaper to build a natural gas generator and firm up the wind and solar that way. For arbitrage, because the cost differential between when it's low and when it's high is very small, the cost associated with building the electricity storage is greater than the profit potential. And that's the same case in terms of the load management. You know, when you buy it low and use it high, there's still not a big enough difference between those low prices and high prices to make it worth your while to store the power and use it at a later time.
Are those trends created by the high cost of storage?
Yes, but the medium-term potential for electricity storage is positive in the sense of cost effectiveness. It's not cost effective right now on a single use basis, but there's a lot of technology improvements going forward that suggest that it will be cost effective in 5 to 10 years. Now, the other thing that's interesting about it is we looked at the different types of electricity storage, including pumped hydro, compressed air, and different types of batteries. And in fact, the biggest potential for improvements in the technologies are not in the new or the current solid state batteries that we're talking about with, for example, the lithium batteries. It's more in these flow batteries that are more similar, not the same, but more similar to what you would have in a traditional car battery where you've got some liquid medium in there. And those flow batteries have a greater potential to be more cost effective in the future. Now, the other key point, though, is that in some cases, organizations or companies will apply the battery storage to several options. So this is what we call value stacking. So it might be in place to firm up wind and solar and used for arbitrage or used also for a load management activity. So in situations where you're able to do more than just the one application, it may be cost effective. But the economics aren't clear. And I think what we're seeing right now is they have to be very site specific for people to get a cost effectiveness solution.
Ellen, my understanding is that we're still seeing the cost curves for both wind and solar and batteries dropping.
Yes.
Is that expected? And if it is expected, how will that affect the economics of battery storage for utilities?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if we have a clear answer about the batteries and the interchange with wind and solar. We're at a situation right now where battery storage technologies are coming down in price, as well as the wind and solar, but it still has the generation technologies still have those intermittency issues that we have to deal with. Now, as the battery storage comes down, it will become more cost effective. But the other thing that's coming down in price is the natural gas commodity. So that's also coming down in price. And if you've got a low natural gas price, you still see a more cost effective solution with using natural gas generation to back up wind and solar when you're looking at grid applications.
Allan, thank you very much for this. And for viewers, we'll be doing 3 more interviews with Allan that you can watch on the Energy Media website, talking about the 3 technologies specifically.